Are you feeling the calling to start or grow a business that is so aligned with you and everything that makes up who you are? Do you know that there has to be a way to do this without so much hustle and without chasing the latest shiny objects, but you're just not sure how? You can definitely have a dream business that improves, not consumes your life, that allows you to work with soulmate clients while helping you and your family financially and in all ways. You can elevate yourself to be the entrepreneur who has all of her desires. I'm going to show you how on the Elevated Femmes movement. Hi, welcome back to another episode on the Elevated Femmes movement. Today, I have one of my former coaches, Nicole Spencer, on with me. And I'm so excited to have Nicole on here because she played a big part in my fitness coaching business. I actually signed up to work with Nicole while I was very pregnant with my daughter, Ainsley. And Nicole still continues to be somebody who I look up to. I follow her content. I continue to engage with her because what she shares is just so aligned with everything that I believe in and everything that I try to do for my clients. So Nicole, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about you and how you got started in the online world. I know your story, but the listeners.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for the kind words. And, I always appreciate you and your just constant support. It means a lot to me. And yeah, so I have been coaching and mentoring virtually since about 2014. I actually owned a brick and mortar fitness studio, which I sold in 2015. And about a year before I sold that business, I was recruited by the coaching company I was a client of. They were basically business coaches for gym owners. I started coaching their clients all over the world. Did that for 3.5 years. And then launched my own company now about 5.5 years ago. So yeah, I've been in the virtual space on the business coaching side of things for quite a long time. And I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah. And it definitely, from all your travel photos and cute Mila, you get to do this from wherever you want. So that's always amazing. So Nicole, you actually went from being a teacher. So you did a major pivot from being a teacher to then being in the fitness space as a gym owner. And then that led you down the online coaching path. Can you share with us, what has there been maybe one or two major takeaways just from each evolution in your life that you feel has been really powerful and has kept you in the game? And even when things get tough and you're like, oh, why am I doing this again? Any words of wisdom that you've learned
it changed
years?
Yeah, it changes at different stages of life. I quit teaching in 2007 when I was 25. So, at that point, I think I was at a stage where I just knew from the time I was doing student teaching a couple of years before, I just knew that wasn't going to be my whole career. I had originally thought I was going to go be a professor. I wanted to get a PhD. All I knew was that I needed to change the circumstances I was in. I was completely miserable at the school that I was last teaching at. And they had, for whatever reason, not had me sign a contract that year. I think they just forgot. So I left mid-year and I had applied to graduate school and got almost a full scholarship to a graduate school in New Jersey. And I was currently live in North Carolina. So that was a really good scenario for me. And at 25, I think you're kind of you're still so young and you're like, I'll just figure it out. And so I moved, I went to graduate school. I actually got a master's degree in Holocaust and Genocide Studies, which is a full 2 years degree. Yeah, a 2-year degree. And I had still at the beginning thought that I wanted to get a PhD, go be a professor. And then as I did more and I did a Holocaust tour in Europe and I went to Cambodia and did an independent study on the Cambodian genocide. And I thought, well, my dream would be to work for the United Nations. And And so, and during that time, I met the most amazing person ever, who is now my ex-husband, but still incredible. And his job ended up taking us from New Jersey to New York City. And I thought, oh my gosh, well, here is where the UN is headquartered, and I'm going to get a job here. And it's going to be amazing. And that didn't happen. So, long story short, I ended up getting into personal training, and that was a little bit scarier, but I knew like our time in New York was temporary. He was a federal agent. And so we had to like move every 3 to 5 years with his career. And so I just knew that was a really temporary time. And I was still in my late 20s at the time. And then when we ended up moving to this tiny little town in Southeast Georgia, which is where I ended up opening my fitness studio, that I think for me was the first time where I felt like, okay, now I'm getting ready to turn 30. What is happening to my life? If this doesn't work, or if I'm not happy doing this, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. And, starting the studio required a lot of expense. And I just remember like calculating how long it would take me if I had to go back to teaching, to pay off this debt that I was acquiring. And fortunately, it went the exact opposite direction. It was great. And, I think if I look back to those times and to those experiences all the way through everything I've done today, there's really been a huge element of just trust in general. And I think that's trust in myself and trust that it's trusting yourself to make those big, powerful decisions, but also just being in trust that I am going to end up where I'm supposed to be. And I've shown that to myself to be true really over and over and over again. So I would say, if you feel like you're being guided or there's something that you want to do, and your inner voice is telling you that you should, or that it's going to be amazing, but then your brain starts to get in the way and distract you, I would say really try the best that you can to tune into that inner voice. I don't know if that's super helpful, but
yes, I think that is definitely helpful, because as human beings, our brains always try to get in the way. I mean, it's job to keep us safe, right? So a lot of times it makes it harder to allow us to take that next step, to try that different thing that could really be a game changer for us in whether it's our personal life or our business life. It's sometimes you just have to ignore the brain. But that's funny. I didn't realize that you actually spent time in New Jersey. That's actually where I live. So that's funny.
I went to grad school at Stockton near Atlantic City. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So your business, Authentic Conversion, like I mentioned before, it really, your philosophy, I would say it's about building a business that relies on authentic, ethical strategies and not spamming people. I think it was a post of yours from, I don't know, maybe a few weeks ago that I read, and you're like, I built a 7-figure business without spamming people. And I'm like, yes, thank you. Did you just get sick of people spamming you? How did you, I mean, it's your personality, obviously, too, but how did you decide to just be like, you know what, I'm going to go, everybody's doing this thing over here. I'm going to go on I'm going to do this thing. This is what I want to be known for. What drove that desire to really build your name and build your reputation as somebody who is all about being authentic?
Yeah. And I mean, really, the whole idea of authentic conversion is about building businesses through relationships, through connection, and having your clients step forward and ask how they can work with you versus you having to go out and hunt for clients and do all of that spammy stuff. And it actually, this idea has always kind of been with me even back in the days that I had my gym. And I mentioned I had been a client of this fitness business coaching company that I ended up working for. And it was, it was great. And it was so critical for me to work with them in order to really create the success I did in my business. And at the same time, there were a big part of what they taught was marketing. And a lot of it worked really great for me. But there was a lot of this was 2012, 2013. And I call it punch you in the face marketing. That's what was really popular where it was like 10-page sales letters with like lots of like big and bold and exclamation points and like all of this really like like over the top language and all of this stuff that just made you feel like ugh, like it would always make me feel like a little bit taken aback, right? And so there was that like really loud marketing back at that time. And, this was before Facebook ads for small business were even a thing yet. And so, the style of marketing, people weren't using social media for business at that time. So the style of marketing was just like, it was one that just never really felt good to me. And, like every time I would like go copy and paste whatever they gave us to like deploy or whatever, it just never hit for me. And I think that would prevent it from like hitting from other people. So that is kind of like what initially sparked it. And then around the time, I can't even remember the exact timing of it, but around the time that I was launching Authentic Conversion, which I launched initially for gym owners as well. Now our focus is on helping all different types of online coaches, but the initial launch was still for gym owners. And there was a lot of this bait and switch going on out in the marketing world, meaning like there were people selling, like the big thing that was going on was people were selling like via ads, like free, but not free 6-week challenges. So like you could, and there were multiple companies like helping all these gym owners set this up. So they'd run these ad campaigns and they would market this free 6-week challenge, and you'd have to come in for a consultation and you'd have to put down this big deposit, and you'd only get it back if you hit your goals. And, there was upsell. And I mean, it clearly worked really well, but I just never resonated with that. I never felt like I was going to bait and switch someone and be like, oh, you get this. But then no, you really don't. And so so it was just like a different variety of what I felt like was that just awful feeling like you're being spammed and punched in the face marketing. And then, over the last couple of years, this like, spammy like DMs, people always hitting you up has become a really big thing. So everything has like a cycle, and hopefully that goes away soon. But like it's this spammy selling is not a new thing, but it's just always something I've never resonated with. And I think for so many of the clients that we have the opportunity to work with, when they compare the work that they do with us and the strategy that we teach to what they've done or learned within other businesses, they always say, I love how when I follow your methods that people come to me. I never feel like I'm having to go hit people up. And so that's just something that's really important to me. I've been able to build a multiple 7-figure business in just a handful of years. And I've never done that. I've never gone and hit someone up. Every single person I've ever had a dialogue with has raised their hand or come to me first. So very proud of that. And, I want more of that kind of connection-based approach happening in the world.
Yes. Yeah. And I think also as being somebody who's, been on both sides, been a consumer, been somebody who has, signed up for programs or courses, and also somebody who offers services. I feel like you get a better person, a better client, or you are the better client when you feel like you made that decision to work with somebody rather than like, oh my God, that person convinced me, or I feel like I was forced to sign up for that. Like that just doesn't feel good. And then you end up getting somebody who's disempowered and who feels like, oh, this person's program or this person's service, that's going to be the thing that takes me, to build my 7-figure business. And I can't do it with that. Like I need them to handhold me and I need them to do all this for me. And I feel like it doesn't usually translate to like the ideal client or the soulmate client, like you like to call them.
Right.
And I think like it's also in this day and age, especially from what I've seen in the past, I would say even like in the past year or even throughout the whole, pandemic, I feel like people have just become much more discerning, and people want to, even like the constant pain, calling out the pain point thing. I don't love doing that all the time. And I feel like it's different than not talking about, not speaking the truth, because sometimes we have to call it like it is and tell people like, look, the reason why you're stuck is because you're deciding to, right? But it's not like we're making them feel yucky and gross because they're, struggling with something. So I think there is a difference What do you think about that? What do you think about like the type of content that, that really helps people draw in those people that are going to come and raise their hand and be like, hey, I'm interested in working with you?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really important to show people what's possible, to show them that they can get unstuck, to share what the transformation can look like and what life looks like on the other side when people, go through whatever your process is, that is specific to the type of clients that you work with. I think all of that's important, but I still think like the nature of, the way that I teach people to approach business really allows the client to be more in the decision making seat versus, like a lot of people, they'll use those really pushy tactics, or they'll make people feel kind of like, well, if you don't do this program and you don't sign up today, you're never going to be successful. And I really I walk the line, I think, really well between presenting what we have as something that is really useful, really powerful, really appealing for the types of clients, who we work with in building online businesses, and allowing them to be in the seat to decide what's right for them. But also I'm not unwilling to challenge people and their thought processes. So I feel like it's, for me, it's a really fine balance. I would never want anyone to walk away from a conversation with me being like, oh my gosh, she was so pushy, or she wasn't listening to me. I think the truth of coaching is, as you kind of said, there's part of you that has to be willing to be the most honest person that someone's having a conversation with, or in someone's life. And I think the more experience you coach, I mean, I've coached between business and fitness over 3,000 people. Like, people are not that unique. You know what I mean? Like, they all have these same like fears and thought patterns and stories and things like that they tell themselves. And so I'm always willing to say, hey, I hear what you're saying, and here's what I think is going on, or I've seen this before and here's what it was. And really just challenge people's thought processes, because those are the things that are holding them back, right? Like, especially like, for example, when people have really strong money stories around, fear of investing in themselves and things like that. And obviously I'm a business coach and I'm a huge advocate of investing in yourself. I've never not invested in myself. And, I've been able to build, before the end of this year, it'll be, a $10 million brand. And I think, yeah. So that success really leaves clues, right? And we have to remember that. So, it's not just when someone's using that as an example. And of course you can use that. You're a coach, right? So it's like, when you're telling someone to invest in themselves, it's not that you just want to like take people's money. It's that's really the truth of what people need to solve the problem that we solve for people, and to create that success, and to put that skin in the game, and to really go in and get committed. But I also know the stories and, the childhood experiences that lead to that. And I also know that when people, for example, don't invest in themselves, it's most often because they don't believe that the results they desire are available to them. So there's like a lot of I really sit on both sides of that. But at the end of the day, anyone who enrolls with us, I want them to feel as if they've made that decision for themselves. Like, they were not bullied into it, that it's an empowered decision, although it's probably both exciting and terrifying at the same time. And that's kind of, at the end of the day, how I want it to feel for people.
Yeah, amazing. So when I signed up to work with Nicole, and your marketing intensive, is that a 4-month program, Nicole?
It is now, but I feel like you signed up. We must have done like a sales call. I haven't done sales calls in almost 3 years, but was it long enough ago to where we did a sales call?
We definitely did a sales call. Yeah. Okay. And I definitely did not feel pushed or forced to sign up with Nicole. I definitely remember that because I haven't worked with a lot of coaches, but I definitely remember being on some sales calls where it was like, I literally like almost had to just hang up because they were like, what do you mean you're not going to sign up? I thought you wanted to, take your business to the next level. And I'm like, okay, but this isn't really the way that I want this relationship to start. But when I signed up to work with Nicole, like I said, it probably was not the ideal time for me to be working with a new coach. Like I said, I was very pregnant. I think I signed up to work with you. I think it was like May, and I was due in August. So, I was like, okay, But I was like, I want to do this. I need to do this. And the things that I learned in the marketing intensive are still things that apply to like now. So I feel like sometimes some people say, oh, now it's not the right time, or, oh, I don't have the money. Like you touched on it too. There's always like something else like there's an underlying reason why they don't really want to make the decision to take the next step. But it's like, okay, well then are you willing to be where you are, and how much longer are you willing to be there, where you know that you can put yourself in a bit of an uncomfortable situation that it's actually going to motivate you to do the work and to get yourself out of wherever you are. So yeah, I just want to point out to anybody who's listening and who is like, okay, who is this Nicole person? If you've never heard of Nicole, or maybe you have heard of Nicole, but you haven't really paid attention to what she's doing, because I think you should. But yeah, even though Nicole, you focus on people in the fitness industry, but I know that you also work with people in like life coaches and people in lifestyle. Yeah. So definitely make sure that you check Nicole out. Is there anything that you would like to share with us? Anywhere that people should go to follow you? I know you have a podcast as well.
So who are most of your listeners? That might help me.
Yeah. So most of the listeners are scaling from 6 to 7 figure businesses. And usually we have business coaches, but also wellness, because I come from that background, I tend to attract other wellness coaches as well. So
yeah, I would say, I have a whole podcast that addresses so many of the things that I would share if we had more than just a few more minutes. But I would say, to me, it's like I always tell my clients, there are 3 things that are required to create any level of success. And the first is the strategy and implementation, right? Like it really is a step-by-step process, especially for those who are building to their first 6 figures or even like low multiple 6 figures. It's the process that creates those results. You want to be super, super clear on your marketing and sales strategy, on your offer creation, on your messaging, on your branding, all of those things, right? So there's like a lot of these foundational level pieces. And then, at each incremental level, growing from 0 to $500,000 to $1 million, and then into multiple millions, there's different things that we need to focus on. So I would say that first thing is always being really clear about working on the strategy that's appropriate for your stage of business. That's the first thing. The second thing is really alignment in your mind and your energy. And, I will go super far into this, but the mindset's so critical. I always tell my clients, we can't create from a place of disbelief. So if you want $1 million business and not every cell in your body is vibrating with, yes, this is what I'm doing. Yes, this is available to me. It's going to be really hard to create that. And then of course, the mindset is one side of the coin and the energy is the other. So the energy is a combination of your thoughts, your belief systems, and your emotions. And that's really what people receive from you, even more than they ever receive your words. Everything you do and create has an energetic imprint. So we want to be conscious and intentional about that. And then the third thing required for really any level of success is just the time in the game and making sure you're really doing the work and that you're committed. I had someone fill out an application with me earlier today or yesterday about working together, and they said, I've been doing this for a week and no one has reached out to me. And I wanted to be like, that shouldn't be shocking, because really like being willing to put in the time and having the grit and the resiliency and the tenacity and the determination is such a huge part of that. So, make sure you've got those 3 things, the right strategy that you're implementing, the balance of alignment between your mind and your energy, and then just really being willing to put the time in. And it doesn't have to take very long and it doesn't have to take forever. But if you don't hit a home run in your first week or even your first month, then, you just really always have to check yourself and make sure you're in it for the long game. Yeah.
Love that. Yeah. Such great advice. So Nicole, thank you again so much. We will share your links, and also we'll share a link to your Facebook group, because I know that you like to hang out in your Facebook group.
Yeah.
But thank you again so much for coming over and sharing some time with me on here and with our listeners. And I'll see you again soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Elevated Femmes movement. I would love to hear your thoughts on the podcast, so please leave us a review. If you know someone who could benefit from the episodes on the show, please share it with them. We need more women elevating to their highest potential, enjoying all the great things in life, having plenty of time freedom for their children and loved ones, while doing things smarter and not harder, and growing a business that improves, not consumes their life. To connect with me and download my free resources, please go to www.juliamhickman.com.